Madam Kinyua is a businesswoman by profession and holds a degree in political science from the University of Nairobi.
This is the instigate of the first ever deputy presidential debate in Kenya.
And I would want Kenyans to judge us with our records.
At All Saints Cathedral, Nairobi, Kenyan churches, Daystar University and members of the public gathered at the eve of Valentine's Day on the 14th of February to hear from their future hopes for hope.
Given the responsibility to lead as deputy president, I will be in the forefront in ensuring a full, and I mean really full and complete implementation of the Constitution.
We remember our fellow MPs, and some are also here, they tampered with the integrity bill. And I want to tell you today, if you could have called this vice president's debate, we could only be 2 or 3.
Kenyans are looking for perfectionists in a sea of uncertainty.
Being a running mate is already a very heavy responsibility. And it is not something to be taken for granted. Even being among the 8 here is quite a responsibility.
An early glimpse to a world of democracy was coming closer to Kenya, and this auditorium, 3 crucial factors came together for the first time.
The obvious question would be, why didn't you try to stop the contentious sections when you were in Parliament?
The last Parliament was a parliament that was run by political parties that did not include TNA or URP. I want to tell you that we have every intention that the next Parliament will have a majority of the Jubilee coalition, and we will match our word with our deed.
When people have been in Parliament for so long and they have an excuse why they can't pass something which is so important, and they have not been aware, and there's always an excuse.
In the year 2010 referendum, which was endorsed by more than 60% of the Kenyan voters, the Kenyan churches rejected the new constitution on grounds of obtainable 5% of the contentious issues that needed to be addressed. This predominantly featured in the debate.
And Article 45 of the Constitution, marriage is actually defined clearly as a relationship that occurs between a man and a woman. This is one of the things that around which there's a lot of conversation, and I know that this is what CORD stands for.
My concern is who makes the call on when abortion becomes necessary. I believe strongly that life does indeed start at conception.
The church in Kenya at some point undoubtedly found itself with a daunting task after being accused of being partisan in the last general election that ended up in violence. To seek to understand the multispectral views of the deputy presidential candidates, both qualitative and quantitative promises to unravel the root causes of such conflicts is indeed in order.
The Treasury has confirmed that almost a third of its revenue is lost through corruption, about 300 to 400 billion shillings. The practical measures that we are going to do is to ensure, first of all, that we ensure that commission is up and running. All civil servants who are working will be vetted in all departments, and it's also the duty of Kenyans that we should also avoid corrupt practices.
That we need to interrogate how the campaigns are being funded. We need to interrogate where the funds for all the helicopters in the air are coming from. We need to interrogate where the money for all the branding that we are seeing on television, radio, and on billboards is coming from.
How do you tell a jobless Kenyan who walks with one shoe for 6 months, walking from office to office with his CVs and looking for a job? This is somebody who walks home and you ask him to pay taxes, unless there are some traveling taxes, walking taxes, and other available taxes.
The old and new politicians came to believe that democracy and hard work could change the face of the country. For many years, use of consultation and dialogue have been the main conflict resolution mechanisms, especially between the church and the government. However, the resolutions are rarely taken seriously, and many peace deals have collapsed, leading to renewed contention on matters of public interest like marriage and education. There is a concern that the previous presidential debate focused more on obvious matters, which many Kenyans knew the stance of the presidential candidates. Indeed, domineering rivalry would eventually find its way to the podium.
And I also said earlier on, we did nonetheless recognize that there was about 10% of what we had in the new constitution that may not have been so good.
I want to first thank my fellow learned friend for admitting that the sitting parliament failed to actually pass or actually do the constitution the way Kenyans wanted it. Let us not play second fiddle. Let us not be watermelons that today you are yes, tomorrow you are no. No. But if these people who passed this constitution were sleeping, some of them did not attend, I'm going back to my point that you asked me before, that this constitution, let us not just implement it hurriedly. Let us go word by word, paragraph by paragraph, clause by clause, and then we look at those contentious issues.
It is no doubt that such political debates may keep the East and Central African economic thrust Kenya the right path of prosperity. Now, as Kenyans prepare to vote in peace and for peace, one thing that is crystal clear is the fact that the paradigm structure and process of the Kenyan politics has often been marked by numerous allegations of unruliness, protection of narrow interests, and maintenance of principles of alphabetical powers that at some point saw this country paralyzed. But the political debates which have taken place in the recent past are a clear indication of a participatory democracy that must just once again revive Kenya to the greater path of prosperity. Obar, KC, Nairobi, Kenya.